Ship design in Stellaris can make or break your wars, and the auto design is quite frankly trash. There are plenty of guides to specifically beat different opponents, but what designs are just generally good? Stuff that you can just spam against pretty much any AI that you come up against. Well, in this video, I'll be doing just that, showing you all the designs that are tried and tested in pretty much all my videos. I'll go over the key techs you need for each design, what stage of the game the designs are good for, and any tips when using them in combat so that you can get the most out of them. You're going to see so much more success in wars if you use these. Now let's get into it. So the first design we're going to discuss is literally as the game starts, the Missile Corvette. The key text for this one is nothing, it's just get alloys. Missiles let you bypass shields, meaning this class will basically ignore all shields and do as much damage to armor and hull as possible. I tend to run with all armor just so that you can get your evasion a little bit up, your speed a little bit up, and your damage a little bit up. You could go for a shield. It really doesn't negate it too much, but I'm special and I like to go for armor. That's a personal preference. Now, why all missiles? Well, if you come over and look at the ships that every empire starts with, they don't have point defense, and that's the missile's one big weakness is point defense. Even on the star bases, no point defense. What does point defense do? Well, you can run a picket ship, Corvette, which would counter this if you're playing multiplayer, but again, this is just for AI. Point defense will essentially shoot down missiles and strike craft. Black's better at hangars, and point defense is better against missiles. This will massively reduce your damage, as every missile that gets pew-pewed out will get shot down, dealing 0 damage instead of 16 to 24. Big negative. But since you're rushing them down early game with missiles, what can they do? You also get to ignore the 2 shields they have, which is 150 HP, and just go through 100 and 200, making this the best class if you want to run someone down right at the start of the game. Okay, so we can notice that the AI fleet does have more fleet power technically, while the missiles are 100 below. There's no leader, everything's the same, and we can pit them against each other using attack all fleets. Now let's see what happens in this battle. As you can see, we rip through their shield, their armor. They are losing fleets massively quickly. That's not a good sentence, but they are dying. Even though they had the same numbers, more fleet power, we killed 8 of them, we lost 2, and we survive. So you can take on equal strength or even more early game with this build. How much more? Well, I wouldn't go too much more than this disadvantage where we have 25% less missiles than the AI build. You probably want about the same numbers and you'll comfortably win without losses, but the less you have, the more losses you're going to get, as they're going to stay alive longer. As you can see, we do win, but we take heavy damage, heavy losses. But this build is more than capable early on. Make sure you engage from a little bit of a range because of the 0 to 100 range on these missiles, and make sure you don't fight on top of a starbase, as a starbase will soak up a lot of damage, but these are also quite good at taking starbases down. The next build from about year 5 to, honestly, year 20, year 30 is the Disruptor Corvette, my beloved. You might see me use this a lot in my game because it's so good. The key techs here are disruptors, which you unlock by the first level of lasers. So you need to research the lasers before you get access to disruptors, so make sure you get lasers. Afterburners are just very good because of evasion and sublight speed. You're going to see speed comes into play for pretty much all the designs we're going to show. Armor and shields don't really matter too much. Better ones are just better for every general build, and ion thrusters because of the speed and evasion, and obviously more energy the better. If you do only have a tier 2, you might have to go with just armor, and that's fine so that you can afford all disruptors. You also do want the swarm combat computer. If you do get the computer technologies, definitely go for it. Will essentially make your corvettes charge in utilizing the really small range of 0 to 30 on your disruptors. Actually, I just found something out I didn't know. The basic combat computer does that, so ignore me. It gives you a bit more fire rated evasion, and you can switch to picket, but we're not using that. That's me learning something for the first time. This design's strength is that it can pretty much take out anything due to the disruptor's penetrating shield and armor. So as you can see on this ship stats, we do have armor and shield. It goes through both of them and just does hull, meaning no matter the tier of the armor, like so, it doesn't care about the 660, it only cares about the hull. Its penetration is stupidly ridiculous at the minute, and the only counter is to get something like reactive armor, which gives you armor hardening, which means 15% of the penetration will actually go into the armor damage. You can also get shield hardening, which does the same, but for shields. The weaknesses of this is against star bases. Star bases have an insane amount of hull, so penetrating the shield and armor does not have the same effect. So if there's big star bases, you are going to struggle. I highly recommend, if you're wanting to war, that you go supremacy, so you get more fire rate, but also for that 20% damage to star bases, it's going to help out a lot. Obviously, if you have better versions of any of this equipment, equip it. This is typically what you'd have at the time of the game. This ship's very good. A typical AI design might look something like this. A bit all over the place, missiles, shield damage. I would probably put a shield on now because it will help you not have to heal all the time, but again, depends on the power. Now, against a similar size, again, they have more power, even though we know it's not true. We should comfortably win this battle. As you can see, we absolutely shred through them before they can really do anything to us. We've lost one ship, two, they're gone. We lost 2 ships against their 40. Now, the issue with disruptors is because they do such small damage very quickly, it's going to trigger engagement chances, meaning that fleet is going to survive if I wasn't using console commands to do attack all, and respawn at the capital and be able to heal. The tactic with these corvettes is you want to engage them on the hyperlane if they're coming through because of the low range, and also completely rush them down. If this was the enemy, we'd rush them straight away on their capital so they don't have a chance to heal, and hopefully we can actually get some kills rather than forcing them to retreat. How strong is this design? Well, I sawed it in half.
I sawed this boat in half!
Just about. It's 55% in terms of numbers against the AI design, and even though we will take significant losses here, the disruptors will actually win that battle and only lose 7 fleets. Obviously, the more you have, the less losses you take, but this design is insane. You may even start seeing fleets with destroyers in when you have this Corvette build, with the destroyers typically looking something like this. These will do a bit better, but again, the Corvettes are just so powerful, and this is not engaging them right on the hyperlane. This has no supremacy, which also would unlock war doctrines, which you can get more range and sublight speed for, and we of course have no leaders, which we would want fire rate or range or speed. And this brings us on to the destroyer. Honestly, I barely build them. I would probably not use it and just spam the disruptor classes until you get cruisers. But if you absolutely had to use them, I would probably use something like this, where your medium rail cannons is on the medium slot to hit the shields first, then you have the small rail cannon, and then a bunch of small UVs to deal with the armor and hull. You've got your afterburners, the speed, and then you've got the artillery combat computer. But I would probably just use those disrupting corvettes until you get to this cruiser. One of my favorite designs in the game. The key techs here are obviously swarmer missiles that do 100% penetration and have 120 range. Afterburners are a must, and better engines. You can get a bit more damage out of antimatter missiles, and honestly, you're hoping never to get hit, so the armor and shields don't matter. You definitely want combat computers on artillery. This is everything this build is built around, so you really do want computers because the default is line tactics and not artillery. The strength of this ship is its survivability and capability of taking out any ships that are slower than it. You do not want to engage at the hyperlane. You need as much range as possible. So this is a typical fleet. You might see the AI with a bunch of cruisers looking like this, the destroyers we saw from earlier, and the corvettes we saw from earlier, all mixed into one fleet. You might notice that I'm only putting one type of ship in each fleet, and that is because of the combat computers. If we mix the disruptor class that wants to charge in with the cruiser class that wants to stay away, we're going to have a whole mess of problems. So I recommend only having one type of ship, and even artillery or hangar in one fleet. Now, something I want you to keep an eye on is how these ships act. We fire the missiles and run. We do a volley of damage and we just keep running away, trying to not take as much damage. This fleet is extremely confused and is running around like crazy. They were a lot stronger than us, but we are slowly taking them down here. The more you have of these, the better, but you can definitely take out fleets that are far slower than you, like the Unbidden, for example. Now, something I want to demonstrate is the power of having a leader with, say, ship weapon range, as well as going down supremacy, giving us more ship fire rate, and giving us a war doctrine, which we're going to put on rapid deployment, which gives us more speed and weapon range. Now, we are still at a disadvantage here. We'll give them a leader. Why not? The extra range and speed is going to greatly help us out here, which I believe this fleet is also getting, but we should benefit from it more as we just kite them. They are running around like headless chickens while we decimate them. And we only lost one cruiser. This is the power of getting this ship weapon range, the sublight speed. You want afterburners, even better ones, tier 2s. You want better engines to just kite them. Now, you might have accidentally not gotten swarmers, or just not rolled it, but you might have gotten hangars. Oh, and also an important thing with this design is going for the gun stem, because you get 3 A slots, so you get more afterburners and more speed. So with this carrier class, your aim is to get as many strike craft out as possible and survive as long as possible. So again, the key tech is of course strike crafts, afterburners, thrusters, and the combat computer. Carriers are weird in that they constantly output carriers every 2.3 seconds. As soon as one ship dies, all of these strike craft die as well. So you want them to survive. So that's why we have mixed in shields for the first time. And we do have basically a mix of lasers and railguns, just in case any ships get close, we can just shoot at them with those, but we mainly want to focus on that strike craft. Again, you want to engage at a long range, but strike craft can't miss, so they're very good against smaller ships, unlike the missile variant. However, they might struggle a bit against cruisers and destroyers since they do such low damage over time. As you can see, we will start engaging very early and running away very early. The strike craft will come out and just start firing lasers at them and running away. The strike crafts will build up over time, so the longer the fight goes on, we're actually doing more and more damage. So if another fleet came in, all of those strike craft would go and attack them. As you can see, we've not taken any damage. They cannot get close because of the range. We don't have supremacy or any leaders on this engagement either, so it can be even better. And they're just dying. There's literally nothing they can do. There wasn't a scratch. I keep doing these tests like I did against the Great Khan in that video where I showed you specific counters for the Great Khan. This came out on top. I should probably use Strikecraft more. That's what I'm learning. You can even make this fleet a little bit riskier, but cheaper. As you can see, it's costing 621. If we just remove, I don't know, everything except for Strikecraft, we're saving 130 alloys and just getting the main component. Probably wouldn't suggest this because you're probably going to need more to do damage, but if you're needing fleets at a pinch and you know Strikecrafts are going to do well for you, you could just run that. And you might think I have an addiction to Disruptors, but you might, after spamming those Corvettes, you can make a Disruptor cruiser class. It's very similar to the Swarmer class. The key techs are obviously Disruptors, combat computer for picket, you want speed still, and afterburners, and you'd probably want a mix of shields and armor. I couldn't put more shields on, so I had to go for a bit more armor. The philosophy of this design is to charge in and do all your penetration damage because we know how strong penetration damage is. Actually, all of these penetrate something in some way and abuse it. And the fleet power on this is not the same, and the advantage of this is the close combat, so you would want to engage them at a hyperlane or jumping right by them. However, this is pretty much good against all sizes of fleets because you have those medium and L slots. The only disadvantage is they get right into the battle, which is where AIs like to fight. They are actually very much struggling against these designs and shows that if you're outmatched, you're probably going to lose. However, with closer numbers, as you can see here, they will do a lot better. This is probably the weakest design, but will do a lot better against smaller ships. So if you see like massive Corvettes, these Disruptors might do you better. But we can finally move on. You might realize I ignored frigates. These are such a niche ship design that it's not good to just spam them like what you can do with all these other designs. That's not what this video is about. If you want specific counters, you should look them up or suggest in the comments if you'd like to see me make specific designs. As well, we are not going into Nemesis fleets or nanite ships or Cosmogenesis Fallen Empire ships. These are just the standard ship designs that you should just spam. So you've just unlocked your battleship and you want to use it. What should you run with? I think this is a pretty good design. The same philosophy as the carrier cruiser, just with a bunch more strike crafts to pump out. We've paired it with shield penetration weapons, such as the whirlwind missile, as the hangars do penetrate shield. So we're going to try and ignore shield completely. We've gone for the broadside stem because we want all the afterburners. This is a key tech. Strike crafts are key tech. Engines also a key tech. We're trying to survive with this battleship again. We got all the point defense that we can get. This will do you solid until our final design that will unlock. So a typical AI battleship will look like this. It's very similar to what we have, but we are maxing out the speed as best as we can. They sometimes don't take A slots. I don't really know. I've been clicking auto and then not giving them dark matter stuff. The AI designed some wacky stuff. They also usually have some mixed fleets. These hangars are going to do so well against smaller fleets, which can catch you out later on in the game. As we can see, we engage super early here and we just start spamming out the hangars. Now they do have point defense, but since we're going to have so many hangars, they should start doing a lot of damage to them. They will overwhelm them, and as we start taking them down, as more hangars start coming out, we're going to do more and more damage against them. As you can see, they have not hit us once because we have as much range and speed as we can. And I think they're also bugged, like not bugged, but like they try and kill the strike craft, so they retreat a bit. Their hangars also getting killed by our strike craft, as well as all the point defense we have. If they ever get close, there's just not much they can do, and we take no damage. So even with half the battleship numbers on our end, the same thing happens. Now, this is one fleet. If there were two fleets coming from different directions, or even just two there, you might not be able to perfectly kite them like we're doing here and just take them down without taking any damage. So you're going to want more numbers, or to engage them by themselves. The downside of this is that you need your battleships to stay alive to keep pumping out the damage as it ramps up with the strike craft. And you're susceptible to getting killed. Maybe they can outrange you, or maybe you're against Crisis that are way stronger than you, and they will shred you if they get close. That is where the holy grail endgame spam ship comes in. The key tech here, focused arc emitter. That's right, 100% shield and armor penetration on an X slot that can do 2 to 1,690 damage on a cooldown of 10 and a huge 150 range. This puts everything together that we've been looking at, and honestly, you could go without any other weapons and just spam these if you wanted to. We do put other weapons on because if there are lots of small ships, this arc emitter can only hit one thing. So you can overwhelm it with numbers. That's where missiles, point defense, hangars, whirlwind missiles come in to destroy any smaller ships. Again, afterburners, key tech. We are artillery. We want to run away if they ever come close. That's why we also have the artillery combat computer on to stay at long range, firing its longest range weapons on the target. So it will just try and use the arc emitter to get more range and more damage. So the key is engaging at long range here. You absolutely do not want to get caught on a hyperlane. I've lost many battles which I should have won because I just sent them to go wherever they wanted and engaged an enemy hyperlane. Another thing is the critical mass. You want your first strike to hit and pretty much wipe out as many as they can before they get close. So we should be fine here. As you can see, bam, bam, bam. We just took out a bunch. They didn't hit the battleships, they hit the destroyers and cruisers, but they'll slowly take them out and run away with the hangars dealing with these smaller ships. We will slowly take them out. They also probably not going to survive a massive blast to the face, so they're going to kill a lot of their ships. Now, we do easily win that. We had more firepower, so we probably should have. These ships work best when they are fighting bigger ships and powerful ships. Like what we can see here, the X slots are going to go crazy, and they instantly wiped out 3 battleships. Another 3 are gone. Every time we fire, we're just taking them out before they can do anything. If you've watched any of my Crisis late game videos, I basically just only build these and spam as many as I can. When you have a death stack of them moving together, they enter a system and wipe everything out. Fallen Empires, Crisis, it's pretty much the only way to beat high Crisis strengths, as they do so much damage, they'll instantly kill anything, so you have to kill them before they can kill you. Admirals with ship weapon range are a must, and sublight speed, but weapon range you want to prioritize. So again, going Supremacist to get the weapon fire rates, which will fire your X-Slots faster, and getting the War Doctrine rapid deployment is going to help so much, as you can get 1, 2, 3 strikes off before they even engage with you, it will go crazy. These general designs are so good. This will defeat pretty much anything in the game if you build enough of them. If you enjoyed this and want an insane build to pair with these ships, check out this build where we go for insane assembly, which basically turns your empire into virtual without the negatives of only being able to have 4 to 5 worlds. You pump out pops as quickly as you can and you can fill any planet in a matter of months. Look at now!